roll down that end. They roll down that end. They go down this line. It looks like it's one, get past you, go down again. You get to it, and
Korea, Malaysia.
Yeah, just like squeeze them in. No, no hurry. Let me just have a crack. Oh, I think what you do is you like put it in and kind of like slow it down like that, and then it will lock it. Ready? Rum. Yeah, fantastic. Good hustle. Ready, buddy? Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Good work. Oops. That's right. Gonna have one more crack. Put it on the top, I reckon, and slide it under Lockies. I reckon if you go like this, so Lockies is here. I reckon if you put it in there, push it down a little bit. Yeah, that'll work. We'll just give that a crack back. It's alright, Lockie had the easy one because this is the first one in. Perfect, good job, mate.
Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Jeanette McNeely. We warmly welcome the family of Private George Burdett King, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is God by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please be seated if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private George Burdett King. George King was born in about 1894 in Charters Towers, a gold mining town in northern Queensland. The son of George and Emily King, he grew up in Charters Towers alongside his siblings, Emily, Mary, Georgina, William and John. George's father had served in the British Army in India and received the Afghanistan Medal before emigrating to Australia, where he served with the Queensland Defence Force. Young George attended Richmond Hill State School and went on to work as a miner. He also served as a cadet with the Kennedy Regiment in Charters Towers. King enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 6th of January 1915. He was allotted to reinforcements to the 9th Battalion and embarked from Brisbane on board the troop ship Siang B in mid-February. King arrived at Gallipoli, joining his battalion in early May. While the 9th Battalion would remain on Gallipoli until the evacuation in December, Private King's time on the peninsula would be shorter. On the 28th of June, he was wounded and taken prisoner by Ottoman Turks before being transported away from Gallipoli, spending time at a variety of prisoner of war camps. King wrote regularly, often stating, "All the boys here are looking well and in the best of health," and noting that he and the other Australian prisoners had been receiving food parcels. In late May 1917, he wrote that he had recently been moved to a new area where other Australian prisoners had arrived from Baghdad and the Suez. A letter sent in early November 1917 contained some troubling news. "I am not too well. I have been in hospital." But his condition seems to have improved, as in July 1918 he reported, "I am quite well and keeping up my spirits." The following month, on the 16th of August 1918, George King died of pneumonia whilst a prisoner of war at Afron Kara Hissar. Another Australian prisoner later reported that George was made to go into hospital on the 2nd of August 1918 against his wishes, suffering from a slight attack of Spanish influenza. His last words to me were, "I'll be out again in a couple of days." George King was 24 years old. His remains were buried in the town's Armenian cemetery alongside 2 other Australians. Their graves were marked with wooden crosses erected by fellow soldiers. His remains were later buried at Baghdad Northgate War Cemetery, one of the many graves to be brought in from the battlefields and cemeteries where Commonwealth prisoners of war had been buried by the Turks. His grave bears the inscription, "His duty nobly done." His name is listed on the roll of honour on my right amongst more than 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private George Burdett King, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.